I want you to picture something for me. You're 71 years old and you're sitting in your daughter's living room in Ohio, and she's sliding a stack of brochures across the coffee table toward you. Glossy ones, places with names like Golden Meadows and Sunrise Senior Living. Photographs of silver-haired folks playing cards, painting little watercolors, smiling on a wraparound porch that somebody designed to look like the porch you grew up on. And she's being gentle about it. She's saying, "Dad, we just want you to be safe. You'd have people around all the time, and, the food's supposed to be really good." But that's not what you're hearing. What you're hearing, underneath all of it, is 4 words. We think you're done. My name's Ray. I'm 71 years old, and 2 years ago, my 2 kids sat me down for what they called a family conversation, a conversation about my future. What they meant was they'd found me a home. A nice one, mind you. They'd done the research. They had a spreadsheet. My daughter Karen had toured 3 places within 40 miles of her house. My son had looked up the medical staff, the ratings, all of it. They had the whole thing figured out. Everything except one small detail. They never once asked me what I wanted. So let me tell you what I did instead. I sold my house outside Dayton. I gave away most of the furniture. I packed 2 suitcases and I bought a one-way ticket to a city on the coast of Vietnam called Da Nang, a place I could barely pronounce a year before. I moved there alone at 71, with my kids convinced I had completely lost my mind. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that cost me, in real dollars, in the order it happened, and the one thing nobody warns you about before you go. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. My wife Eleanor passed 3 years ago now. Cancer. It went fast. From the day they found it to the day I buried her was just under 6 months. We'd been married 44 years, raised 2 kids, built a whole life in that little house in Ohio. I worked the line at a parts plant for 31 years. Eleanor did the books for a dentist in town. We had a modest place, a quiet street, grandkids down the road. We had our routines. And then, well, then she was gone, and I didn't have any of that anymore. Not really. The house got too big, too quiet, full of her things, her handwriting on the grocery pad still stuck to the fridge, and none of it brought her back. And my kids, they started calling more. At first, it felt like love. Karen every Tuesday, my son every few days. And then, slowly, it started to feel like being watched. "You eating okay, Dad? You getting out? You take your blood pressure pill?" And I understood it. I did. They'd just lost their mother. They were scared of losing me, too. But understanding a thing doesn't always make it easier to sit inside of. And here's what I couldn't say out loud back then. It wasn't grief exactly. I knew grief. I'd been to the counselor. I knew that shape. This was different. This was waking up at 6:30 every morning because that's the time I'd woken up for 40 years, making coffee in the same pot, sitting in the same chair, reading the same paper, and not remembering one single word of it. It was the slow, quiet understanding that the life I was living, it wasn't mine anymore. It had been ours, and now I was just going through the motions of it, alone, in a house that fit 2 people and now rattled around just 1. Now let me tell you where I am, right this minute, as you're watching this. It's a little after 6 in the morning here, and I'm sitting on the balcony of my apartment, maybe 4 blocks from the beach in Da Nang. There's a ceiling fan turning slow over my head. I've got a cup of Vietnamese coffee, the real stuff, dark, dripped through a little metal filter, costs me about 40 cents. Down below, there's a woman setting up her noodle cart for the morning, and the air coming off the water is already warm. Warm in a way an Ohio February never once was. My rent on this apartment, 1 bedroom, tile floors, a view of the palms and a slice of the sea, is $210 a month. $210. Hold on to that number because I'm going to keep coming back to it. Because $210 is what changed everything. See, that home my kids wanted to put me in, I looked it up. The nice one, the one with the watercolors and the wraparound porch. $4,200 a month. $4,200 to sit in a room and wait. And my Social Security, after a lifetime on that line, is $1,900 a month. You do that math and you understand real quick why they had a spreadsheet. The numbers in America said my life was over because I couldn't afford for it not to be. $210 in Da Nang said something completely different. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend the money was the hard part. The money was easy. The hard part was that first night. Let me tell you about the first night, because this is the thing nobody warns you about. I landed after 20-some hours of flying, got to this empty apartment I'd rented off the internet, sight unseen, like a fool. And I sat down on the edge of a bed in a country where I didn't speak one word of the language, didn't know one single soul, 7,000 miles from my own children, who at that point weren't really speaking to me. And it hit me all at once. What have you done, Ray? What in God's name have you done? 71 years old, and I'd blown up the only life I had left. I'm not ashamed to say I sat there and I cried. First time since the funeral. Cried like the walls were going to hear me. And then the next morning came, and that's where the whole thing turned. I went downstairs because I needed coffee and I didn't have any. And the woman at the noodle cart, the same one I can see from my balcony right now, she waved me over. Didn't speak a word of English, just waved and pointed at a little plastic stool and put a cup of coffee in front of me before I could even ask. And she sat with me. We couldn't talk, we just sat. And she kept refilling that cup and pointing at things and laughing at my face when I tried the chili, and by the end of it, well, I'd been in the country about 14 hours and somebody had already treated me like I belonged there. That doesn't happen in Ohio. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. I'd lived on my street for 26 years and I couldn't have told you my neighbor's wife's name. That's the thing about this place that I can't quite put into words even now. Back home, once you cross a certain age, you become invisible. People look through you. You're a slow driver, a long line at the pharmacy, somebody's problem to solve. Here, the old are, they're treated like they carry something worth having. Kids call me uncle. Grandmothers my age sit out front in the evening and the whole street stops to talk to them. Nobody's warehousing anybody. And it took me about a week to realize that the emptiness I'd been carrying since Eleanor, that switched off feeling, it was starting to lift. Not because of a pill, not because of a doctor, because somebody handed me a coffee and pointed at a stool. Let me give you the real numbers, because I promised you I would, and because I know that's half of why you're still watching. Rent, $210. I eat out, honestly, nearly every meal. Big bowls of noodle soup, grilled fish, fresh greens, for $1.50, $2 a plate. I get a haircut for $2. A woman does my laundry, folds it, for about $4 a week. My health, and this is the one people don't believe, I see good doctors here, English-speaking, Western-trained, and a full visit runs me $20, $25 out of pocket. I had a tooth crowned last spring. In Ohio, they quoted me $1,300. Here, it was $90. All in, everything, I live a good full life on about $900 a month, which means for the first time since I retired, I'm actually saving money at 71 on Social Security. Let that sit with you a second. Now, I want to be straight with you because these videos, some of them make it sound like paradise with no thorns, and that's not honest. It's hot. It's real hot, and it rains like the sky's got a grudge some months. The traffic is, it's a living miracle I haven't been flattened by a motorbike. I miss my grandkids something fierce. I won't pretend a video call is the same as holding them. And there are mornings the loneliness still finds me because you don't outrun grief by changing the zip code, you give it somewhere gentler to sit. So no, it's not paradise, but it's mine. For the first time in a long time, the life I'm living is actually mine. And here's the part I really want you to hear if you're sitting in a quiet house right now the way I was. My kids came to visit, both of them. Karen came first, still angry, arms crossed the whole flight, I bet. And she watched her father walk down a street where the coffee lady knew his name and the barber waved and the neighbors called out Uncle Ray. And on her last night, she took my hand and she said, "Dad, I get it now. I thought you were running away. You were running toward something." And that was the whole thing. That was everything. They didn't put me in a home. I put myself in a life. So if you're watching this and there's a stack of brochures somewhere in your future, or maybe just a house that's gotten too quiet, I'm not telling you to buy a ticket to Vietnam tomorrow. I'm telling you that 71 is not the end of the road. Sometimes it's just the on-ramp, and everybody around you is too scared to let you take it. Don't wait for permission. I almost did. I almost let the lights stay off for good. And this warm morning, this coffee, this street that took a broken old man and made him feel like he belonged, I almost missed all of it. So that's my story. And if any piece of it landed on you, sitting wherever you're sitting, I'd truly love to hear it. Tell me down below where you are and where you'd go if you finally let yourself.